Okay, so these are just going to be a few quick amendments to the previous video that was put out for the celebration of learning. This is just a GIF image of a hurricane, sort of just to model the motion. And as you can sort of see here, how they're distinct regions. So the darker regions that are closer in to near the eye of the hurricane. And these are regions of higher pressure and higher velocity. And they go out based on shells. So you can see how there's a yellowish shell that's surrounding it, and on the outside, there's even less wind speed in these green regions here. This is basically the system I wanted to model. It's not a constant gradient, but distinct shells that are shown by the hurricane. So, as I was saying in the previous video, I modeled these shells this hurricane model was 500 meters long in diameter. So the longest radius with a tropical storm average speeds in miles per hour that I was showing earlier would be on those outside. And then I said by every 50 miles that the total radius would decrease, it would be a new shell. So tropical storm to category 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so now in order to apply this model to an actual equation, I used instead the formula for kinetic energy in relation to just the sum of the kinetic energy for each one of the levels from tropical storm all the way to category 4, while eliminating the spot in the middle for the eye of the storm, which just has a low pressure environment, so is negligible based on my model. The way I did this was that I found the air density, which was 1.225 kilograms per meters cubed, and multiplied this value by the total volume of whatever region I was observing. The way a way that this model would be more accurate would be if I were to take the integral of the change in air density as the height went from sea level all the way up to 50,000 feet. However, I decided that since most of the force and energy from a hurricane is found closer along the bottom of the hurricane, closer to sea level, I just made the assumption that we could take the constant air density, the coefficient from at sea level, to be the coefficient that we were working with in terms of air density. So in order to find the actual volume that I would need for these regions in order to obtain the mass, I looked at these based on the regions. Like I said, it was 250 miles outward, and then I subtracted that total area by the other circles. That would be 200 miles out, all squared and multiplied by pi to give me a specific area, and then I multiplied that by the conversion factor for meters to miles squared to obtain the region, and then after that I multiplied that region, which I found in meters, to the total height of the hurricane, giving me the volume. I converted the amount of 50,000 feet, to 2 meters. And then from there, since I now had the total volume, I multiplied it by the coefficient of air density to obtain the mass. And then for each one of the regions, I multiplied this by the velocity for that region was that average velocity for that category. So I converted that velocity into meters per second and squared the values and multiplied that by half to get each region, and then I added each region together to give me a value of 7 times 10 to the 18th joules. Or rather, this hurricane would have a magnitude of 10 to the 18th joules, which makes sense.